You can retarget all your traffic, my man. We do actually what I call omnipresent retargeting, which means we drive clicks. Before we ran any paid ads or did any SEO, we decided just to post some ads on Craigslist and generate a few leads of people interested in roofing jobs just to see how Eddie would answer. Junk removal business. He has a property management company. He does real estate acquisition. They do contractor fix and flips. But they're all like kind of a central theme, and he shares all his tools and resources and connections between them. I don't even know if this is live, but I'm at least amusing myself. There we go. We're in business. Da-da-da-da-da-da. All right. Welcome back. Exciting new edition for you smart, talented, beautiful, amazing motherfuckers. Building agencies taking over the world and building cool lives for you and the people around you and your clients, which I think is the point of it all. Life first, business second, even though sometimes I know your business is your baby and it's really important. Couple quick announcements. These are just things we have coming down the pipeline for you guys. I got some cool AI stuff that I'm going to show you guys how to actually close deals and get in sales conversations with people who are the most interested in your stuff using AI. In fact, I'm going to send that. I'm going to post that tomorrow, so that's hella exciting. We've also got some cool stuff for the people who tell you your leads are shit to help you guys actually close some of the calls that you guys are getting for clients that they don't know what the fuck to do with because they suck at answering the phone. And then also a complete done-for-you onboarding system so that you can bring clients in and have a real setup in ClickUp, what I call checks and balances, things that make the trains run on time. So it's like a send this email, do this message, post this stuff, so that when you guys go to scale your operations, they work. And you can swipe and deploy stuff that's built by other successful agency owners. So that's some stuff that's coming down the pipeline. I'm super excited to share it with you guys. And as always, we got a cool-ass mastermind. I won't talk too much about that because I've probably beaten that to death. But I think it's the coolest place on earth. And we're adding the done-for-you component, which is all in the beta testing right now. And I don't know, it's exciting. So I actually have to check with my VA right after this my VA Karen, who's doing a lot of the research and stuff, see where we're at, and then we're going to be testing some cool outreach that's way beyond anything you guys have seen elsewhere. It's not just the Badger Strangers. It's the difference between message 10,000 dentists and message one person who has the dental conference of 10,000 people, or the dental podcast that is the biggest one, or the biggest dental software. Like it's thinking about playing chess when everybody else is checkers and having like done for you. And the simplest way you got to do that is just tell people. So let's get into the good shit. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A with, by the way, Mario music in the background. For those of you guys who played Mario 64, my brothers and sisters represent. This is one of the water levels. I forget what it's called, but you guys will recognize it. All right. I like to listen to, by the way, this is a steal from my friend Gary Musler. I called him one day and I was like, Gary, do you hear like piano music? And he was like, I listen to chill out music when I work. It helps me do stuff. But he said, I don't like stuff with lyrics because it distracts me. And I've been using it ever since for the last, 6-7 years. And I love it and it helps. I'm not saying it's the solution for everybody, but if it works for you, go for it. Anybody who's interested, I'll happily share my chill out playlist music with you. Anyways, Leonid is up first, says, I'm running Facebook ads and Google ads for my solar landing page. I plan to do retargeting on Facebook for Google clicks. My marketing guy says that it's impossible since Facebook can't talk to Google. I suspect he is BS. He said that I should retarget all clicks, but I want to retarget only Google clicks since they are very high intent. I don't want to retarget Facebook clicks since I already did it and it didn't produce mind-blowing results as I thought it will produce. Is there a way to retarget Facebook Google click, or is my digital marketer correct? Firstly, you can retarget any of your traffic. What's up, Ryan? You can retarget all your traffic, my man. We do actually what I call omnipresent retargeting, which means we drive clicks. And some of you guys who are in my retargeting sequences on the agency side can confirm this on the mentorship side. I am relentless, which means you see my pre-roll stuff on video. You see all my banners on all kinds of different websites. You see my Facebook ads. You see Google search kind of like sponsored, although I don't do a ton with that. But you can do like really, really, really big fucking retargeting. Jeremy, what's up, my man? So firstly, retarget all your clicks and it's super cheap. Having said that, if you're telling me you're retargeting people and it's not working, something is probably off with your offer. It's always like if sales are not happening, it ain't the retargeting ad. The most likely piece is the offer. As long as you're driving the right people there in the first place, it's an offer issue, my friend. And a lot of times we don't realize how easy it is to improve an offer. So I'll give you an example of this. We had a real estate friend, and they were trying to get people to come see an open house. What's up, Eddie? And here's the deal with an open house. It's like, it's not that exciting of an offer, right? Like there's lots of open houses, unless they're particularly interested in that one house. So they made an offer that said, if you come look at this house, whether you buy it or not, we'll give you a $20 Starbucks gift card. And what ended up happening is they ended up creating a buyer frenzy for this house on the back of a $20 Starbucks gift card. So get outside of the box and figure out how you can make your solar, especially like your free consultation offer, more exciting, more sexy, more appealing. Starting to see Frankie in my dreams. Those are nightmares, my friend Cole. Those, I'll tell you, for me, you know what's interesting on the subject of dreams? I've had... I started speaking German when we lived in Germany. It took me like 2-3 years to be able to kind of speak German, but it was interesting to me when I first started having dreams in German. And then it was also interesting to me when I first started having dreams with my children, right? So like it's crossed over where now I have dreams in multiple languages and with the people I see every day. So anyways, but to your original question, Leonid, yes, you can retarget your traffic across platforms. You can and you should. It works. But make sure like you actually have an offer that you're going to send them to that converts, because if it's not converting, that is the most likely reason. There's usually only 4 reasons. You're sending the wrong people there, meaning they don't buy that kind of thing. You don't have an offer that appeals to them, or like your messaging and images around that are broken. It's like it's really basic fundamentals. Zach! Zach wants to hear the story of Eddie the Roofer. Yeah, why not? I'll work it in there today. Why not? I'll work in some Eddie the Roofer. Let's work it into the next question. Josh says, Frankie Fihn or anyone else, what is the click to send snail mail platform you like best? Want to try the Dan Kennedy sales letter method? So I'll tell you why we use a lot of direct mail for those of you guys who are interested. I'm going to work in just for you, Zach, and Eddie the Roofer kind of story. Why we use snail mail? So any of you guys who have read Tim Ferriss, you know, the 4-Hour Workweek guy, he's got a book called Tools of Titans. He's done all these interviews with like really highly amazing, successful people from all walks of life, some actors, some business people, you know, all kinds of different things, some Navy SEALs, things like that. And in the middle of that, he has 17 questions, and he said, I don't like to try and have good answers. I like to try and have good questions, because if I have a good question, I can repeatedly produce good answers by just asking myself, you know, good kind of like answers again and again and again. And one of the questions he asked himself that always stuck with me is he said, what is the least crowded channel? And what most marketers do is when they think about drumming up business or messaging a prospect, they go after the most crowded channel. They think about what's the cheapest, what's the fastest, and it's usually like an email, a LinkedIn, a Facebook message, an Instagram DM, but it's like one of those 4 places. And they don't think enough about how can I go where nobody else is so I can stand out. And I found the easiest way to do that at scale is with direct mail. So to answer your question, Josh, and this is more for the benefit of everybody else because we already answered, we use a service called Click-to-Mail. And Click-to-Mail is like an email autoresponder where you can put placeholders. So like in an email autoresponder, you can put hi first name. And depending on what that person has entered as their first name, every single person will get a different email. One person will say, hi, Joe. One will say, hi, Dave. Hi, Jenny. All that kind of stuff, right? But you get the hi first name. Well, you can do this with Click-to-Mail. So we're actually experimenting now with putting in their competitors' names. So I say, hey, I'm sending this letter, and I would hate to have to go work with A, B, or C. And I name their specific competitors in their specific market, and it's just a placeholder: competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3. And so click to mail does that for about $1 a letter if you guys are sending in the United States. Now let's work in some Eddie the Roofer into this. Now, a big secret to this is getting a good direct mail list, and it's getting the right people. I don't think enough people understand how important it is to send messages to people who buy the kind of shit you sell. So to illustrate this point, my man Dan kind of did this brilliantly. There's a couple of weeks where we worked with roofers. It was more than a couple of weeks, a couple of months. He still works with roofers to this day, 7-8 years later. But for me, I got kind of sick of roofers and pulled the plug on it. But Eddie the Roofer was a guy. We found this roofer. I think he was in Louisiana. And we were trying to generate business for him. Before we ran any paid ads or did any SEO, we decided just to post some ads on Craigslist and generate a few leads of people interested in roofing jobs just to see how Eddie would answer. Now, we had a service, we used Twilio back in those days to create a forwarding number, and we recorded all our calls so we could hear all the calls. And I'll never forget this call because Eddie the Roofer answered the phone. Well, actually, his wife answered the phone. And mind you, the ad says like 5-star roofing. It looks like a premium roofing solution. There's great reviews on the ad. And they call, and Eddie's wife picks up the phone and goes, "Hello?" And the guy's kind of, "Hello?" And Eddie's like, "Yeah, is this 5-star roofing?" And she's like, "Hello?" And the guy, again, "Is this 5-star roofing?" "You need roofing?" "Yeah, one second. She sounded like she'd just eaten a carton of cigarettes before the conversation. And she puts the phone down, but you can still hear the whole thing. She goes, "Eddie, come answer the fucking phone right now!" And Eddie's like, "Why are you always bitching at me? Blah, 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 blah." And they go at it for like 7 minutes. Finally, Eddie gets on the phone, picks it up, and says, "You need a roof?" And then the guy says, "Yeah, can you like give me a quote of blah, blah, blah." Now, you guys would be shocked to learn that Eddie did not close that deal. But the reason I do this, because it illustrates the contact, is I want you guys to understand the most important part of direct mail working is getting the right list of people who are proven buyers on that. I always say, like, we are habitual buyers of books, right? Like all of us internet marketing folks. So like, if you want to, like, this just actually came up yesterday. Somebody said, "Hey, have you read such and such book?" And I said, "No, should I?" And they said, "Yeah." And okay, and then I ordered the book. That was it. Like that's how easy it is to sell me a book. Well, everything is like that, including internet marketing services. And what I always use the analogy is like what most people are doing is they're going after people what I would call barefoot, which means they're like literally people who logically need marketing services but will never ever pay for them. And that's what Eddie is. Eddie's barefoot, and there's lots of Eddies out in the world, less crazy versions of Eddie, but they've grown with word of mouth and things like that. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you like actually sell stuff to people who buy. And the flip side of that is, by the way, I mentioned this story, but a couple weeks later, Dan sent me a message, and he had this meeting with a guy who had a roofing company. They had locations across like 30 or 40 locations across 2 or 3 states. And he sat down with him and said, he drove up, by the way, in his McLaren F1. For those of you guys who don't know, it was once the fastest production sports car in the world, $1 million car. He said he came out with a Gucci bag, which is, another couple thousand. He reached in, pulled out 10 grand, slapped it on the table and said, "All right, Dan, I came here to spend money. What's it going to cost me to get you," right? So that's what happens when you get the right people, is like it's almost easy. And the biggest clue for this is, are they spending money on marketing now? So to make direct mail work, there's really 2 pieces, and they're both stupid fucking simple, but you gotta nail them. Thing number 1, get a proven list of people who are buying now, spending money today. How do I know they would buy books? Because they got books right now. How do I know they would invest in marketing? Because they're running Google ads, they're running Facebook ads, they got radio, they got TV. There's some kind of indication that place is spending money now. Coldlytics, by the way, is a really cool tool for those of you guys who are interested in generating lists and just want somebody else to do it for you. And then the second thing is the irresistible offer. The irresistible offer, that is the magic piece. And I'll tell you, without going into too much detail, because I could probably talk for an hour and a half just about offers, but irresistible offer, if you just think about it as an irresistible outcome or solving a painful everyday problem, that chances are that offer will be irresistible. So I hope that's helpful, Josh, or anybody else who's interested in doing direct mail. Jeremy says, looking at implementing a Loom video strategy, can anyone provide examples of a Loom video they've created to inspire some ideas on how to craft it? For anybody who's interested, by the way, I am happy to send you examples of Loom videos, except there is one caveat. I never send you the most current version I'm running, and I'll tell you why. Because I've probably been ripped off 30, 40, 50 times in the last 16 years. And people will steal my message word for fucking word. Sometimes even, like, I remember actually I had a lady, I had like, 7 things you need to do to build up your law firm. And she copied and pasted it and put 8 things you need to grow your law firm. And number 8 was hire me. And then people, sent me a copy of her message, and she was basically like stealing my shit word for word and added in a sentence that basically you should give her money. And that's the kind of thing that happens. So for that reason, I don't give you the current Loom videos. But if you want to see the older technology, the stuff we were running 2-3 years ago, I'm happy to send that to you guys, because it's not the current active version, but it'll give you the idea. But what I want you guys to understand, like, I get asked a lot about these Loom videos, and more importantly, like, how can you guys do it and it's cell phoneless? I want you to understand it's just based on the normal process of a sales call. It's an 80-20 of a sales call, except done in fast forward. So normally, like, when I did sales calls, like, you would spend a little bit of period building rapport so you get to know each other, and then what they would do is, appreciate that, Ryan, thanks for saying that, I would spend like 30, 40, 50 minutes sometimes, and you go back and forth talking about their problems and what life could look like when it was solved. And essentially they're wondering in that whole time, like, what can this do? What can this do? And essentially, like, what we figured out is if you can just say that in a picture, you can actually skip 45 minutes of a sales call and have them get it in a way like 3 seconds. So a simple example of this, we got a guy who helps like general contractors get kitchen remodeling jobs, and it's like, and I was asking him, like, what does it look like? What do they receive in their world? And he says, well, they get a little email like this where the person says, I'm interested in getting my kitchen remodeled, and they include some photos of the kitchen. I'm like, well, just show them that. That's what you give them. That's what they really, really get when they hire you. Like, show them a picture of that, and they'll go, oh, I get it. And there's a lot of implied things in there. Firstly, they're interested in $40,000 kitchen remodeling jobs. They're probably sick of the work they're doing now, which is much lower paying, and so automatically they make that connection in seconds. So that's the first part of a Loom video. The second part is they wonder if you show them a result, they go, well, that's cool, but, like, will that work for me in my personal situation? So I like to just spell out in very binary terms, it'll work for you if. And these have to be very binary. They can't be wishy-washy. Like, are you coachable? That's wishy-washy. Like, I don't know what that means. It's different things to different people. It's like, if you're going to retarget, you got to have at least 1,000 visitors a month, and we need 3 or 4 good testimonial videos, at least. You got 1,000 visitors a month and 3 or 4 testimonials? Yes. Okay, then it'll work for you. No, you don't? Okay, then it won't work for you. It's like you need to figure out, like, what your successful clients need. This, by the way, is how you screen for the right people. And I do that just in a sentence, call them out. The biggest missing piece is, by the way, all high-ticket sales begin with curiosity. So now they're at this point, they're like curious, and they're like, hey, this could work in my situation. Immediately the mind wonders, how does it work? So the biggest part of a Loom video is just explaining to them, here's how it works. Here's how we get you from where you are now to where you want to be in a couple of steps. And you want to be like what I call 30,000 foot view, where it's enough they can understand it. Like, they're not looking to replace you. You don't have to show them, like, in super painful detail. Like, if a deck guy says to me, like, if I'm hiring a guy to build my deck, I don't actually, like, want to know the ins and outs of building a deck. I just want to know that he knows what the fuck he's doing, right? So, like, imagine I'm trying to build a deck and I want some backyard barbecues. I'm just looking for him to say something like, yep, they got a sale down at the Home Depot. I'm going to go pick up some lumber. I'm going to measure this thing out and figure out exactly how much we need, but I know they got a sale right now. It's 25% off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build up the frame. I'll nail all that in, and then I'll build the kind of finishing pieces, and then I'm going to sand it down and finish it and stain it. It'll take a day or 2 to dry, but after that, in 3 days from now, you'll be able to have barbecues, no problem, right? I don't need super detail. I just need to know he knows what the fuck he's doing, and he's got a real plan, and he knows what he's... So this is a thing, by the way, that keeps you stuck from getting hired a lot of times, people don't realize, is when you say, pay me money and then I'll figure it out. This is backwards. You have to have a plan figured out, and then they will pay you money to go execute. I see this all the time with beginners where they're waiting for somebody to hire them to figure out what they're going to do, and it's the opposite. Is the more you say, like, I'll give you an example of this. Is somebody was telling me how they got their first web design job, and they had never designed a website in their entire fucking life, right? So 0 case studies, 0 testimonials. They made a mock-up of the website they had in mind and went to the business and said, this is what I have in mind for you. That's a fucking plan. Like, say yes, and I'm gonna build you this. Right? So you have to have the plan in the video, and then the last piece is just the offer and like telling them how much it is. And there's a formula for presenting that. But if you want to do your own Loom videos, that's all we're doing is we're just doing a sales call in fast forward, and you guys can do that like super easy. But the biggest missing piece from most people's sales process is that middle piece that takes up the most amount of time in a Loom video called how does it work? They need to logically understand that. And immediately, by the way, if you show them something they want and they're curious and you say, this will work for you in these situations, and then they go, oh, that's me, then they wonder, how does it work? And you show them how much it works. Their mind wonders, like, well, how much is it? And so the more you just answer those questions, you're just basically doing a sales call and fast forward. So that's like the secret of it. Our man Johnny says, need some advice. I originally started out being a generalist agency. I then niched down to automotive, but I find myself going back to being a generalist agency. I was thinking about creating another company for being kind of like a fractional chief marketing officer for companies, and then have my agency be strictly automotive. And I was also thinking about having a SaaS company. I'm hesitant because it sounds like it'll be a lot of work maintaining 3 separate companies, but my goal is to sell each one to another agency within the next year. Any advice would be appreciated on the best course of action. Keep it generalist, like I'm doing under one roof, or separated 2 agencies on top of a SaaS business. Well, here is the secret, at least in my opinion, okay? Because I'm a serial entrepreneur. I know everybody says, like, just do one thing and focus on one thing. How many of you have ever in your life been able to fucking follow that advice? Because I don't know about you. Yeah, it's good advice, but I can't do it. I'm just not that built that way. So I've had to learn how to know when I should do 2 things or 3 things or 4 things or 5 things. And I'll tell you, I have 2 simple criteria. Okay? Thing number 1 is, do I have people, like good people, who can do this other thing for me? Right? So like I can actually manage 2 things if I have good people who can manage it. So we actually manage a lot, like just around our house here in Mexico. I've got a pool guy who came this morning who like cleans my pool. I've got a gardener. We have chickens, and he comes and cleans up like all the chicken shit and fixes my yard and cleans up dog poop. There's not really much of a yard in Mexico. Like there's no grass to cut, but there's little plants to maintain and stuff like that. And he comes and does that once a week, usually on Fridays. I've got a cleaning lady who comes every Wednesday and Friday and comes and cleans our place. She does kind of like a mid-level clean on Wednesdays and a super duper heavy mega clean on Fridays, top to bottom kind of thing. And then we have a nanny in there. Now I can take those things and put them out of mine because they know what the fuck they're doing. So I can just like 100% delegate. So if you have good people, there's thing number 1. Thing number 2 is, do you have assets that can be shared between the business? Okay, so I'm actually attempting 3 things right now with varying degrees. So I have an agency, I have a mentorship where I mentor other agencies, and we also have a real estate acquisition business. Now, in theory, that sounds too crazy to just do 3 things, but I'll tell you why we do it, is because everything that works in the agency mentorship is just all the stuff I'm doing in the agency, so it's like literally just sharing the same assets. Also, like the way we do the real estate acquisition is just with virtual assistants and messaging and offers, and it's literally all the same shit we're doing in the agency. So the assets are all the same between all 3 businesses. So I don't have to like come up with 3 different things for 3 different businesses. I come up with one thing and use it in all 3. And that's the secret. Is like I have a friend who has 12, one of my mentors actually in the real estate space, he has 12 different businesses. 12! They're all in real estate, and they're all like a related theme. So he has like a window manufacturer, he has a junk removal business, he has a property management company, he does real estate acquisition, they do contractor fix and flips, but they're all like kind of a central theme, and he shares all his tools and resources and connections between them. So the only reason I would ever try 2 things or 3 things, if you got good people who can do it, or the resources. Now, having said that, in your case, Johnny, it sounds like it's failing that test. And for that reason, I would give you the plain Jane generic advice. Do your best to focus on one thing. Having said that, I understand if you can't do that. I understand why the challenges come up in that. I understand why that may not be easy. But I'm here to tell you, like, don't try and, like, build 3 different houses at the same time. Unless you got one crew of guys who can build it all, and you can rent the same piece of machinery for all 3 houses, and they're in succession, and you can build a factory. Because otherwise, ancient Chinese proverb that says, man who chases 2 rabbits catches neither, and you're going to end up being in that scenario. So I know it's probably not the advice you're looking at, but I would focus on probably just building an automotive agency. And this happens in levels, by the way. Usually there's 3 levels of like generating business. So level 1 is you're starting out, and nobody knows who the fuck you are, and so you got to like do things to drum up business. And you usually just take whatever the fuck you can find. You post on Upwork, you post on Craigslist, you go to a B&I meeting, you put up a website, you drive some traffic, you run some ads, you send some cold outreach messages, and you get who the fuck you get, right? Then what ends up happening is eventually you build up enough of a reputation where you reach level 2, where you actually start having people refer you business, and it comes as a result of the connections you've built. And level 3 is the level past that, where you start going, okay, who do I really, really want to work with? And you start identifying specific targets, and like a marksman, you aim your like bow and arrow, and you go, psh, and you go after like very specific targets. Well, you can do that right from the beginning in automotive. There's not enough people. You can actually just skip right to stage 3, where you identify the key players in a market. I just saw a post from our man Jerry, and Jerry said something along the lines that, hey, I just got hired by one of the top A players in legal. We're making some videos. Who else is interested? Well, that's the key, is he's working with an A player. Is once you get one A player, you start, like, it leads into other A players. But you can do that right from the start. You can go just, like, target an A player and, like, really aim your shit. The reason why most people don't is they think about sending 10,000 messages badly instead of one message to someone who has 10,000 connections, right? It is the difference, like I said, and we've been talking about this a lot in the Wolfpack, is you can, like, say you're in dentist. I know not all you guys are in dentists, but I want you to understand there is an established buyer flow within the industry already, right? There's somebody who's putting out all the podcasts. There's somebody who like wrote a book. There's somebody who built dental communities. There's somebody who has dental software. There's somebody who puts on a dental conference. There's somebody who has a dental mastermind. There's somebody who has the largest best-selling dental course. There's somebody who like sells them SEO already and builds them websites. So the worst thing you can do is try and drum it up from zero. I focus on going after the people who already have all the flow. I would rather get on the podcast that has 10,000 dentists listening than try and message 10,000 dentists at once. But the difference is you can't just write some copy and paste generic shit to the guy who's got the top dental podcast. You got to think about it a little bit. Not like super long, but often it's just 5 minutes of preparation. It's less messages overall, but more like preparedness when you actually do that. And I would do something similar like that in automotive. You do that, you can build yourself up relatively quickly. And the easiest message, by the way, I had Alex Hermosi, a little clip I posted the other day for those of you guys who saw it. And it's really simple. Find the fucking A players and do cool shit for them. Like, so in his case, Alex Hermosi's like, I know how to do sales scripts. So he would dissect their sales process, make a bunch of notes, not ask them, not, hey, I'm offering you the chance to improve your sales process. Just fucking do it. And then show up and be like, Mr. Dental Podcast Guy, here's my notes on your entire sales process. I built this for you. Like, they feel like they owe you. They have to put you on their podcast. They have to share you with their audience. That's the secret. If you can do that, you identify where all the buyer flow is and you do cool shit, you'll create this massive influx in you. In fact, you can actually blow up an agency to 7 figures or more just with one quality partner. Because I've had this, like the guy, once the guy who puts on the big conference starts saying you're the one to talk to, like they know thousands and thousands and thousands of buyers in that industry, and you won't be able to handle it all almost because they refer you so quickly. So you can tap into those established buyer flows. I hope that's helpful. Nick says, anyone have a good recommendation for where to find someone to contact our clients' leads? A lot of our clients are not following up with leads properly, and I'm looking for a way to bring on somebody on our team that would call our clients' leads within minutes of the leads submitting their information. Obviously, they need to have perfect English and work U.S. hours. Anyone know of a good place to look for such a person? Nick, you're looking at him. I've been actually experimenting with this. Yes, my love? Okay, I'll come fix it in a minute, okay, my love? Do you want to come be part of my video, Heidi B? Sorry, we got a nice little toddler hello in the middle of this. That was my oldest Heidi B standing there saying that Zelda pushed a button, my middle child. So anyways, back to where we were. Let me just reread that question. So this is a common thing, just so you guys know, Nick. Like, and you guys are not alone if you're in this, where clients suck at calling leads. They're slow as fuck. They don't know what to say. They can't answer basic questions. They don't know how to close people. They don't know how to invite them in for a thing. And then they say, your leads are shit. They're all bad leads. And it's all your fucking fault. So we've been beta testing 2 different solutions. We have 2 different providers. One who has a stay-at-home mom army that they've trained just for their own stuff, and they're charging $10 per call. And this is really valuable for those of you guys who are in high-end niches, like where you sell, cosmetic stuff and dentistry and home services and things like that, especially like if there's margins and you don't want to lose the fucking clients because they suck at answering leads. That's one solution I have for you. If you're interested in beta testing, you can reach out. And then the second solution, we have a Filipino-based version of that, and they will follow up as many as 6 times with your leads. And they call them, the most important, both of those, by the way, they call them within minutes, like within 1 or 2 minutes. As soon as somebody fills out a form, somebody's on the phone with them, and they'll follow up and repeat as many as 6 times and actually book them in the calendar. And the Filipino version charges just $15 for an actual closed call, and they got really good English. They're screened for that one trait, like how they sound on the phone. So if you guys are interested in that, again, this is not something that is formally offered to the general public, but we are looking for a few more beta testers, probably just like 3-4. If you're interested in being one of those 3-4, you got a client who sucks at answering calls, come talk to us or just send me a message, because I've got some options for you on that. Been working on, like, this is a common thing that comes up in the industry. It's been coming up for 15 years. Clients suck at the phone and blame their marketing agency. I know Go High Level has a lot of options, but especially for like high-end services, and the market is like older, if they're older and they don't text so much, they don't check their email so much, like if you're dealing with financial planning, like you want to call people and fucking call them fast and know how to close. So we got you covered there. This is something I've been looking to add to like kind of roster of solutions. So if you guys are interested, you can give me a holler on that. Eric says, here's my first offer to a solar friend of mine. My first offer ever. Congrats, brother, on that. Mid-level SEO plus 2 hours per month of website optimization, $2,000 per month. PPC and management of Google Ads plus retargeting, $2,200. Managed WordPress hosting, $100 a month. His ad spend would be $100 a day or $3K per month. Total recurring cost is $4,390 plus $3K on ads, $7,400. His solar business turns out 40 jobs per month at $25K a job. I don't know his margins, but what do you think about the offer? He wants to double his business in 1 to 2 years. All things being equal, can I tell him there's a good chance the above strategy will get him there, assuming he has a decent product service and a decent sales team? Any suggestion on how I might make this offer even better for him or me or both of us? Firstly, Eric, this is the thing I see all over, okay? Your deliverables are not your fucking offer. They are your deliverables, right? And the way I say this is like, if you think about a restaurant's deliverable is food. When it says Dave's Family Restaurant, their deliverable is we're going to make you something to eat. An offer is come in the door on Monday nights because we got $16.99 all-you-can-eat ribs with a side of corn and a baked biscuit. And, I'm just bullshitting here, and we get you a beer for $1.99 on top of it, right? Like, that's a fucking offer, right? So don't confuse we're going to run Facebook ads. And the best way I've said this for people who are not familiar with this is I always compare, like, your deliverable is a fucking plane ride, meaning it's different things to different people, and nobody wakes up and says, what I want to do today is get on a plane. Like, literally every single person who's ever been on a plane is leaving someplace and getting some other place. They're leaving someplace and getting some other place, right? So the worst thing you can do is sell them the journey to get there. So, like, for example, if somebody's sick of the office and the meetings and the phone calls and the alarm clock every morning and the fucking office politics, and you're saying I can get you to the beach and the bikinis and the drinking out of a coconut, having some exotic liquored up drink that you can drink on the beach, that's what you're selling them, right? But what you're not selling them is this long fucking 8-hour plane ride and customs and get your passport checked. And I'll tell you, the reason I say this, if I check 20 agency websites, 19 of them are selling the journey. The pay-per-click is a journey. The Google Ads is a journey. The website hosting and maintenance. So you want to link the journey to what it means to them, right? So for example, they're getting $25,000 a job. Like, realistically, how many phone calls can you get them? How many jobs can they potentially book out of that? What's that going to do for their crews and their payroll? Because the more you talk about those things, the problems they have now, keeping their guys busy, keeping their crews busy, making payroll, making sure the system is going, the reasons why they want to scale, and the more you can focus on outcomes. The PPC and the website maintenance and all those things are almost an afterthought. I'll give you an example. It's the difference between, we can run Facebook ads for you, that's a plane ride, and we can get you motorcycle cases, which are an average of $25,000 to $80,000 cases, and get you leads for under $10 a piece using Facebook ads. Okay, the using Facebook ads is almost an afterthought in the second example. The thing they're buying is the outcome, the problems it solves, right? So I see this all the time where people sell the long fucking miserable journey to get there and not what it's going to look like. And in your case, he already told you he wants to double the business in 1 to 2 years. So break that down in terms of numbers and outcomes and what they would need to do. And this is my plan to get you the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 phone calls, 1,000 phone calls you need every month, and this is what you'll have to spend. And this is how I see our conversion rates. And this is how I'm going to get you there. But focus on the thing they want, not your journey to get there. Man, like 19 out of 20 websites talking about the journey to get there and not the thing they want. And this is why it's so important to pick a niche, because if you don't have a niche, how can you talk about a thing they want, right? I compare it to, it's the difference between, imagine somebody says to you, I want you to write an advertisement for an athlete. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't find that easy. And I want you to compare that if somebody says, I want you to write an advertisement for a left-handed golfer with a slice. The ad will almost write itself because it's so specific. Dear left-handed golfer with a slice, did you know we're not like righties? Did you know that if you're slicing the ball, there's 3 underlying issues and we can fix all of them with this one Frankie Fihn magic doohickey, right? So the key with it is a lot of times why people talk about the plane ride is because their messaging isn't specific enough, their niche isn't specific enough, and so they can't create meaningful messages. So half the battle is just saying, okay, I'm going to work with left-handed golfers with a slice, and then you start talking about the outcomes they want. You start talking about what the easiest way is to say, like, what does it look like when it's done? When you're finished running the pay-per-click, when you're finished running the ads, and it's done, and it's working, what does that look like for them? And it might just be like, we're going to get you 100 phone calls every month. We'll get you 100 opportunities. You'll close 20 or 30 of them. And you're going to end up getting 20, 25K jobs. Like, that's your offer, not using pay-per-click and websites and all that stuff. So don't... it sounds like in this case, because it's a warm contact and all that, you'll probably close it anyway. But in the future, like, don't sell them the fucking long, miserable journey. The last thing you want to do is be the one going, we have comfy seats and they're luxurious, blah, blah, blah. Because they don't give a fuck. They're like, they just want to know, like, can you get me direct to Aruba? Can you get me to the Dominican Republic? Can you get me to Jamaica? Can you get me to La Paz, Mexico, so I can hang with Frankie Fihn? That's what they want to know. They don't care. Like, I don't know about you guys, but do any of you guys have, like, airline loyalty? I don't. I've even flown a few times. Spirit Airlines. Their full name is Break Your Spirit Airlines. I've been on a flight with Break Your Spirit Airlines where, like, a baby shit in front of me and, like, I got trapped in it there with, like, the shit smell forever. Now that I have kids, I totally understand that. And all of this. And it's the most miserable experience if you've ever flown Spirit Airlines. But if they still get me to where I'm going faster than anyone else, I'll still book with them again, even though they're the world's shittiest, most fucking miserable airline. They may be worse than Break Your Spirit, but I have not yet found it. So this is what we want to think about, is like, we're getting them somewhere. Where are we getting them to? And in this case, the guy told you, in 1 to 2 years, I want to double the business. A good question might be to ask why, because that's what they're really buying, is the reasons why they want to double it. And it's often things you're not thinking about. It's like, hey, I want to be able to put my kids through college. Okay, you want to put your kids through college, and you need an extra $50K a month to do that. I got it. Well, and if you're going to make an extra $50K a month, it's going to come from, we need at least 100 phone calls, and this is the budget it's going to take, and that'll help you close 20 of them, and you'll walk away with $50K in net profit for yourself, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to do that using websites and hosting and all the things you just mentioned. But they ain't buying the websites and the hosting and the maintenance and all that, and the pay-per-click. They're buying the, I want to put my kid through college, and an extra $50,000 a month will help me do that. What's your plan to get me there? So this is key, because if you understand this, you unlock the keys, because you know how to speak to what people are really buying, because they're not buying what you think they're buying. They're buying something much deeper and much more meaningful to themselves. And if you can identify that, You'll start selling that, and shit gets a lot easier because you're just a plane ride to get there, right? And you'll talk more about, oh yeah, that's crystal clear. You want to get to Jamaica? You want to be on the beach? You want to get high as a motherfucker? Well, I'm gonna get you direct. I will bring you direct to Kingston, Jamaica in the shortest amount of time, the least amount of money, and you can get on that beach and get high as a motherfucker. And our plane ride is the best way to do that. So I hope that's helpful. It's a rant. But it's a rant that I feel like if more people understood this agency service, like especially because a lot of you guys have quality deliverables and a hard time selling them. And what helps is if you just speak to like, I'm going to get you to the beach and you're going to get stoned in Jamaica, and less of the like, it's going to take us 8 hours on a fucking plane ride and you're going to have to go through customs and get a shitty bag of pretzels with 3 of them in there, and then a little drink to hold you over for 8 hours. Like, too much talking about that. Nick says, agency owners, what's the number one method you're using right now to talk to prospects? Things are slowing down over here and my usual lead sources have quit producing over the past 2 months or so. Looking for any ideas, are willing to share, are willing to hire someone who's able to book appointments. I'll tell you, Nick, if you want to make that problem like go away for fucking ever, Ryan says, I want an application to work for you. My dude, I appreciate that. We're going to have to actually talk about that exact thing because I need some help with a few things. But the number one method to talk to prospects, okay, nobody talks about in this agency world, what everybody's thinking about for the most part is short-term money. And the fastest way to get short-term money and the cheapest way is with some outreach messages. So that's what everybody's interested in, is like outreach message. If I see a message that says, send 10,000 messages and get 100 bazillion fucking booked appointments, it'll sell like a motherfucker. But in reality, that is the least efficient, most like waste of time way to do it. And the story I use to illustrate this, okay, because I call that digital door knocking. Yeah, it fucking works. But when my first ever job, I sold chocolate bars for the blind. I was like 13, 14 years old. It was like a cash job. I don't know if it was legal or not, but I got paid some cash to go sell chocolates door to door. And what would happen is, it was in the summertime. We get a big, heavy-ass cooler full of chocolate, and you pick it up, and you're like 13 years old, and it's heavy as a motherfucker. And you would cut across people's lawn if you couldn't see anyone, because it was always faster, but you hope they didn't catch you. And you knock on the door, and you always get one of 3 responses. Yes, we'll buy some chocolate. No, sorry, no, thank you. And the most common answer is nobody's home, or they're home and they just ghost you and don't want to talk to you. And if you do that for like 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you knock on the fucking doors, at the end of that, you'll have all your chocolates gone, and you'll get like $100, or it's like 50 or $100 something. For as a kid, I would sell like, enough chocolate to like, I could buy all the candy I wanted and rent video games at Blockbuster. That was like all I wanted when I was 13 years old. If I could rent games at Blockbuster and maybe the occasional dirty movie and like go to door, and I made $100 and I could buy all the candy I wanted or go to the movies. Like, I was just high on life at that point. But it's really fucking energy inefficient. And what ended up happening is once a month, our manager would go to the local grocery store, and he would say to the manager, hey, we got this thing for the blind, and is it okay if we sell chocolates outside your store? And the manager always said, yeah, no problem. And we would go there, and we'd have like 10 kids in this tiny little fucking Geo Metro. It looked like a clown car full of chocolates and kids, and like breaking all the seatbelt laws and all the safety laws, but you could back in those days. And we'd stand outside the grocery store. 10, 15 minutes, didn't matter how good of a salesperson you were, every single kid was out of chocolate. 10 or 15 minutes. Why? Well, firstly, because the grocery store is a buying source. People got up that day going to there. They've spent 30, 40, 50 years building up the buyer flow in the community. So every 10, 15 seconds, a new buyer comes, and they're hungry on top of it. And they came there with the intention of spending money. So like that's the biggest reason we all sold out. It's like they had their established buyer flow. I'm going to tell you my biggest secret is figure out where the buyer flow is in your industry, and it exists in the form of conferences and podcasts and communities and other people selling SEO and pay-per-click and all these things. Like it already exists in your market. Like somebody spent 10, 20, 30 years. Somebody wrote the book on it. Somebody like already has the mastermind on it. Your job is to identify those people and get in front of them, because if you just ask one grocery store manager, can we sell out front of your store? you're going to be out of shit in 10, 15 minutes. So this is my way of saying when the lead flow dries up, it's because you don't have enough fucking inbound. Everybody wants the outbound, but in my opinion, the point of outbound is to drive inbound. So you knock on the fucking grocery store's manager's door, one very specific door, and say, can we sell your shit? And it all comes to you. And I think that's the longer, more energy, smarter, efficient way to do that. And the biggest way, the easiest way to do that is to add value to people. And the easiest way to add value to somebody who owns a metaphorical grocery store online is to give away the ideas for free and to charge for the implementation. Give away the ideas for free and charge for the implementation. So say, for example, your service is SEO. Teach people for free how to do SEO. Say you work with plumbers and you do SEO. Show plumbers for free at the grocery store how to do SEO. And inevitably what will happen is 8 out of 10 people will watch that and say, man, that sounds like a lot of fucking work. Can you just do that for me? And you charge on the implementation. But what happens is it will drive expert-driven inbound. And the difference is this: when you knock on somebody's door, you're an annoying fucking pest. Like, who's at the fuck? Can you get the fucking door, please? Like, I got the, like that's how people respond. When they come to you, you're like a heart surgeon, where it's like, hey, tell me where it hurts today. What has you considering heart surgery? How can I help you? What made you decide to come here today? And that's what you want, is consultative inbound. The longer you do this, most people, what they do is so energy efficient that they get on even when they book 100 appointments, most of those people are 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 at best on the idea of working together, and they try and close that gap with a long sales call. The thing about expert-driven inbound is if you go to the grocery store and show them how to do SEO, and they watched your entire 45-minute presentation and then come to you, they're 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, at worst a 7 about working with you. And so most of the sale actually happened before you guys even spoke. And that's where you guys want to get to long term. So when the leads dry up, the solution is not fucking or more appointment setters knocking on fucking doors. It's to figure out where the real doors of opportunity are in your space, where the real buyer flow is. Go there. Watch. Just like Google who has the biggest podcast in your space, and get on that and give some ideas away for fucking free. If you do SEO or pay-per-click, tell people how to do solar pay-per-click. You'll be amazed. People come to you and go, hey, I saw you on such and such podcast. You're the solar pay-per-click guy. You got what we need. How do we get started working together? In fact, you'll have some of the easiest sales calls in your life. In fact, I actually can remember a call once. I think it was like the National Trial Lawyers or something. A lawyer got on the phone with me and said to me, this is how we started the call. She said, hey, I saw you last week, and I think it was in Atlanta or something. She said, I saw you last week in Atlanta doing a speaking at blah, 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 at National Trial Lawyers. I don't even know what you sell, but we want to buy it. How do we work together? Right? How are you going to fuck up that sales call, right? That's what you want, is inbound expertise-driven stuff. And the way to do that is get into other people's buying flow and just give away ideas. Just be the helpful person, because knowing how many plumbers do you think realistically can execute pay-per-click on their own, can execute Google ads on their own, can execute Facebook ads or SEO or build a website? Like, fucking none of them, right? And the few that can will actually still find your stuff valuable and refer you to their friends and say, you got to listen to this guy. He showed me how to, what matters on a plumbing website. So this is the key, is like, find where the grocery store is already, contribute value in the form of free ideas, and on the back end of that will come all your implementation stuff. And you can do this even if you got 0 clients. You can do this in any industry, because this is the thing, is the content creators in your industry, the people who put out the courses, the trainings, the masterminds, you know what they need? They need new valuable shit to give to their audience. So you actually fulfill their needs simultaneously to keep their hungry audience satiated with useful ideas. So hope that's helpful to you, but it's a different way of looking at this agency stuff. But I feel like everybody teaches like bang on doors for 8 hours a day and harass motherfuckers, and yeah, it works. Like, you'll get your blockbuster money, but it's a fucking grind, and you're never gonna make like big real money doing it that way unless you like hire an army of them. And even still, it's like you're just creating a grind for them. Like, be smart about it. We want to work smarter, less but better, more energy efficient, right? Like, and for those of you guys like me who got kids, you have to do it that way, because you don't have all day to just grind. I think that, like most of the guys teaching the grind your way by knocking on 1 billion doors, they're almost all like single 20-something guys that only have to think about themselves. And like, I get it, but like at the end of the day, like fucking drive inbound to you. Put out some expertise-driven stuff, right? There's somebody who already has an audience of 20,000 people in your industry who has a magazine that like is waiting for somebody like you to show up and just give them free ideas. So anyways, rant over on that, but I hope that's helpful, Nick. Dev says, I have my first sales call today, feeling nervous, give me some advice. Well, firstly, my dude, congrats. And second of all, like, we're all 100% of us are nervous on our first call. Why? Because it means a lot to us. I'll tell you, the biggest advice I have with sales calls in general is it's not really about you at all. It never was. It's never going to be. So don't make things about you. And what most people do is they internalize it. It's about my service. It's about me and what I deliver and is it valuable and all those things. And none of that is true. It's about them, like using the plane ride analogy. It's about where they're at, the shitty office, the meetings, the politics, the alarm clock, the everyday driving in traffic. And it's about where they want to go, which is the beach, the coconuts, the bikini women, the sun shining, the palm trees, the perfect weather, that kind of stuff. So the biggest thing you can do is just identify, like, tell me what's not working now. Tell me where you want to go. What's not working now? And you do that with questions, by the way. You don't do that by telling people anything. So, like, I'll give you some things that I've used over the years is like, simplest, what had you reach out today? Like, can you tell me a little bit about your situation? What's one thing you're looking to fix? And if that was fixed, what do you see instead? Like, tell me about the vision you're trying to create. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 6 months from now? Like, what would that do for you? Those kind of questions create the difference in the plane ride. Don't focus on the journey to get there. And you'll know you're doing this right in your sales calls. For those of you guys who are still doing sales calls, it should be about 10% you talking. And when you talk, you're mostly just summarizing and or asking questions. And 90% them talking about their life, their situation, their goal, their mission. So this is the secret. Like, sales calls are more listening than anything else. So as long as you like show up as a good listener, you're gonna be better than most salespeople. What most people try and do is they try and pace it too fast. And what I see this as a common mistake. And what I mean by that is they start talking about their solution before the prospect is ready to hear about it, instead of like getting very, very clear about what they're actually trying to fix. So I'll give you an example of this, okay? Imagine a friend comes to you and says, fuck, man, my elbow really hurts. And you looked at them and said, well, you've come to the right place, because let me tell you about my 1, 2, 3 easy, awesome Frankie Fihn solution to fix your elbow in 3 easy magic steps, and it's right here for $2,000. Your friend's gonna look at you like you're fucking retarded, right? So what you want, like, if a friend came to you and said, my elbow hurts, you go, well, that sucks. What happened, man? Right? And then they'd say, oh, I was playing tennis. And you're like, and how did you hurt it? Playing tennis, right? You would go deeper and actually want to understand. Oh, so you're telling me you went up to the net and fucking like somehow threw it out? And then I might say, like, have you thought about using a different racket? I found, like, if you use a lighter racket instead of a heavy one, you won't throw it out like that. And yeah, I have thought about it, but I don't know where I'd get one. Well, you came to the right place, because I got a racket for you. Would you like to hear more about it? Right? You wouldn't just be like, well, quick question for you. If I could solve all your elbow pain with a quick racket-busting Frankie Fihn gizmo gadget, would you like to get started right now for 10 easy payments of $29.99? Right? And that's how most people are on sales calls. And the reason they do that is because they're already looking ahead to the sale they can make. And the best thing you can do is be present with people and just listen. Nobody, especially in business, by the way, and I know you guys can relate to this, like, if you're in business, nobody fucking listens to you. Like, no, and not only does nobody listen to you, like, most of your friends and family can't even understand what you're going through, right? Like, I have it for me. Like, I'll tell you, I talk to other leaders about this. What I feel the greatest amount of internal pressure about is, like, a leadership thing is, like, I'm responsible for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people depend on me for a paycheck and what I do, and they ultimately, their families depend on them getting a paycheck. So by proxy, like, I'm responsible in some ways for their families. And, like, I don't always feel my best every week. And so, like, I feel a lot of pressure. And so I can't talk to that about very many people except for other leaders in same kind of situations. business. And so like when I get a chance to talk to somebody who actually understands it and is willing to listen, it's a fucking blessing. Like I'm happy to open up to them. And this is how people are on sales call. Like a dentist may be able to talk to a couple of other dentists about what they're going through, but they don't have very many people in the world that understand what they're doing, right? Like entrepreneurship is a lonely fucking road. So when you show up as a listener, the best thing you can do is really, really listen like a friend and not try and get them to the finish line as fast as possible. In fact, if you're patient with it, you'll spend probably like 45 minutes not talking at all about anything you do, and 100%. And then the last minute is just like a 1 to 2 minute summary of like, and it's just like I mentioned on a Loom video, you'd summarize like, this would be my plan for you. What do you think of that plan? Here's how much it would cost to fix. But that's really it. Like most of the call is going to be them talking. So if you're on your very, very first call ever, congrats. Don't stress too much about it because it's not really about you. Just show up as a good listener. And the other thing too that nobody talks about, you want to have marketing that converts. The best shit that you'll ever come up with, the best sales copy, the best messaging comes right out of these calls. So like we had a webinar, by the way, it's on our YouTube channel. It's one of the first videos I ever made. I show you inside of a webinar we did that did 50,000 a month in new agency sales, like month after month, until it like broke all our fulfillment and we stopped running it, not because it ever stopped working, just because like, you know, we couldn't even keep up with the fucking work we had. And, you know, then you got teams and scales and systems and fulfillment. And it's, by the way, it's old shitty quality. I did it on my internal microphone, but the information is gold. And there's a section in the webinar where it says, does this sound like you? And I list 8 common symptoms that lawyers have. And I would get lawyers who would come on a call with me and they would say, or they would come on a call with my salesperson and they would say, hey, when you got to that, hey, does this sound like you? I was all 8 of those things. And it sounds like fortune telling to them because I just told them everything that's going on. But you know where that came out of? It came out of actual real life calls where we wrote down what they said word for word, and then we went and put it back in our marketing. So the other gold piece is, even if you never close a call, like you can have 10 calls and never close them, you have gold that you can then go put back into your marketing later. Like you want, like I always say, the best marketing in your industry is parroting. It is not writing, it is parroting, right? Like I have a thing like, I remember like looking at a lawyer joke. Somebody asked, what's it like actually being a lawyer? And a snarky lawyer responded, oh, it's exactly like a law school recruiter says, just like an episode of Suits. You know, fame, money, women, booze. Did I mention the fame and money? And you're guaranteed to make $100,000 right out of school. Debt is easy to pay down. Don't ask any questions. Get started right now. Law school recruiter. And it was, you know, snarky lawyer humor, and they all laughed about it. But I was like, hey, that's how they really feel. They really feel like they were promised this kind of episode of Suits life, and in reality, they're just grinding out paperwork for unhappy clients, and it's way less glamorous on the inside. And they were sold this kind of dream, and so. When you hear something like that, and how I knew it was like a lot of lawyers felt that way, it had like a bazillion upvotes and they all thought it was really funny. You'll see sometimes when I do like in-person speeches, I'll say, how many of you lawyers feel like a law school recruiter sold you an episode of Suits? You know, fame, money, women, booze. And did I mention the fame and women? And debt is easy to pay down. You're guaranteed to make $100,000 right out of school. Sincerely, law school recruiter. And they laugh. But I didn't write that. I didn't say any of that. I just parroted back what a lawyer said that they all already agreed with. And so if you understand that, like that's what you're doing in your messaging. So the other thing you want to be conscious of in sales calls, just listen really well and take good notes. That's it. That's your only fucking job, and you'll improve your process. The other thing is, it's an iterative process. You will probably fail forward. So I actually remember I had a mentor, and this is kind of an embarrassing moment, but it's really fucking true. I had a mentor who said, hey, you need to raise your prices. So I did. And I raised my prices. I think we were at $1,000 a month, and I raised it to $5,000 a month. And I was getting a bunch of calls, but I didn't internally believe anybody would pay me $5,000 a month. And so this was probably like 2016 or so. I'm like, let's go try it. He says it'll work. And I remember I had a lawyer on the phone. His name was Tim. And he said, how much is it? I said, it'll be $5,000 a month. And he said, okay, let's do it. And I actually I didn't express anything externally, but internally I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way. Like, what do I do now? I didn't even know what to do. And so I heard from them. They said, oh, the best, if you do like higher amounts, you should use Stripe, not PayPal. It's got lower fees. It's better, and blah, blah, blah. So I'd never used Stripe until that point. I logged into my Stripe account, and they said, just ask for the person and their credit card and the phone. So I entered in all the details, and it gave me an error. And I said, hey, my credit card processor gave me an error. Can I call you back? And back in those days, Skype didn't have live support or anything like that. So I had to send them an email. It took a day and a half to respond. And they said, well, you got a new account. It's in like test or sandbox mode or something. You got to like really enable it for it to work. And the guy ended up flaking on me. Tim flaked on me. And I don't blame him, by the way, because like I probably would have given reason for pause too. But I realized that like I had actually no plan in mind for what I would do after they would say yes. And Tim ended up saying yes. But you better believe that I actually knew what to do the next time, because I'm like, okay, I better have the payment link ready to go. I better have the onboarding, like the first few steps figured out. I better have my welcome email. I better have my like welcoming. And sure enough, I closed my first actual $5,000 deal a few days later, and that was after like months and months of struggling and having nobody sign up for it and spending a lot of money on Facebook ads and feeling like we were getting nowhere. And then it became like pretty regularly where we started closing people. But I illustrate that story to indicate it's an iterative process. Is the other piece to think about is if they say yes, like what are you going to do? You don't have to have the whole like next year mapped out, but you should have like the immediate 3 or 4 steps at least known in your mind, so that when they say yes, it's pretty seamless. So if you do those things where you listen, you take good notes, and you know what to do after they say yes, you'll be like ahead of like 90% of people on their first sales call, and you'll do well. And you'll just like, you just listen to people have good, honest conversations, take some notes, and if they say yes, then you'll know what to do with it. So I hope that's helpful. For those of you guys who missed the beginning, a couple little announcements in the pipeline. We are beta testing a bunch of cool stuff for you guys. I have some AI stuff that's going to get you some sales that I'll probably post tomorrow, if not Wednesday. Also have some stuff for you guys who like struggle with the phone part. I don't mean you struggle, but your clients struggle with the phone, and you struggle with the fact that like they don't know how to close leads. We have some third-party solutions that we can give to you that are super cheap, $10-15 a call. They'll put it in your client's calendar. I find dentists suck on the phone, but they don't suck when somebody actually physically comes into the office. So we're beta testing some stuff for that. For those of you guys who are interested, you can send me a private message, like $10-15 a call, and they'll put them in your client's calendar. And then you'll stop losing them, which is the most important part of that, is because they just suck at answering the phone. So the more you take it out of their hand, the better. And there was probably one other thing I want to tell you. Oh, of course, the Wolfpack. We are actually beta testing as well some of the strategies as a done-for-you component, building a whole team of VAs. That is like continuously a work in progress. I'm actually going to go get an update on where we're at right after this. And in helping you guys to not go after dentists one-to-one, but to go after dentists by figuring out the top podcast, the top community owner, the top software creator, and creating collaborations where they take your best trainings, putting it in front of people where you just give away ideas for free and drive inbound expertise driven where people want to work with you as the top expert and pay you whatever it takes, and doing that for you. So the only thing you got to do is just have a 10-minute conversation with somebody you've already helped and all that. So that's where we're going to next. If you guys are interested in that, there is a link in the pinned comments below this. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. It's an hour of old daddy ranting. I hope it's helpful to you guys. Appreciate you guys. Much love, and may the force be with you. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Fihn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews. And it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.